You stepped in at 30 minutes and trained your team to wait 4 hours. 8 colleagues froze their tasks while the call came from one source. Permission is the bottleneck. Speed was never the problem. I've coached leaders through this exact pattern at companies scaling from 50 to 500 people, and delegating more is not going to fix it. It's 3 rules that shift every decision off your desk permanently. The launch gate is stuck. Marketing needs final messaging, sales is holding the outreach sequence, and ops is waiting on the readiness checklist. Product is ready to ship, but there's one open thread, and that thread is pricing. Nobody in that room can close it without a yes from the director. So someone schedules a quick sync that lasts 30 minutes. The director walks in, hears the options, and makes the call on the spot. It looks like efficient leadership and a solved problem. The room clears, but here's what actually happened downstream. One interruption costs you 23 minutes and 15 seconds of focus. UCI researcher Dr. Gloria Mark tracked it. That's the tax everyone else pays for getting pulled out of flow, and it has nothing to do with how long the meeting ran. Her team also found that interrupted tasks take twice as long and contain twice as many errors as uninterrupted tasks. One quick question costs more than 90 seconds. It costs those 90 seconds plus 23 minutes to rebuild context, plus the mistake you make because your brain's still on the old task. 8 people were waiting for that pricing call, and each one stopped their own decisions while the meeting ran. That's 4 hours of stalled decision time, and the cost doesn't stop there. Each person needs 23 minutes to rebuild context after the meeting ends. That's the recovery tax on top. Ryan Berg calls this decision latency, the time between a real question and a real commitment. People start building in parallel because they can't afford to wait. Teams hedge because they don't trust the direction will hold, and nothing closes without permission. So executives keep getting pulled back in. Monday, marketing needs messaging approval. Nobody knows if the product manager, the marketing lead, or the director owns the final call. So they escalate. 2 days pass while the creative team stops drafting and the campaign timeline slips. Tuesday, finance needs pricing sign-off. No threshold defines when the director must be involved. So they escalate. Another 2 days pass. That's 4 days lost before the first decision is even made. This is not a one-time delay. This is the operating system. The real numbers from the field, they look like this. 40 escalations per week reach the senior leader. A 48-hour average delay every time ownership is unclear. Your team is waiting for permission. Each escalation, it feels like collaboration. Each one is reasonable. Stack them up, though, and you've built decision dependency. You told them they owned the work. You never told them they owned the decisions inside of it. They don't own the decision. They own the anxiety. That's the system that they inherited. It's fixable. Research from Harvard Business Review and LSA Global shows that decision effectiveness, more than decision quality, is what actually drives organizational performance. The usual fix is to speed up the process, faster approvals, more meetings, tighter governance. But speed, it was never the problem in the first place. The real problem is the social danger of being wrong. Nobody wants to own a bad call. Here's what actually works. 3 moves. Move 1, name the owner. One person owns every recurring decision. Not a team, not a committee. Hiring, pricing, messaging, and launch readiness, each get one owner. The second move is to set a hard deadline. Routine decisions close within 24 hours. Higher impact decisions close within 48 hours. The deadline is a system boundary, not a suggestion. It protects the decision from endless discussion. Now, the third move is to define escalation triggers. The senior leader only gets involved when a predefined threshold is met. That means legal exposure, major financial risk, or a decision that crosses multiple departments. Everything else stays with the owner who was named in move number 1. Here's the rule that most leaders get backwards. Silence after a deadline should count as approval to move forward. If the owner hits the 24-hour mark and nobody objects, then the decision is live. That's the difference between a decision domain and a permission system. I know the pushback. You can hear it already. This will lead to reckless decisions and reduce leadership oversight. But accountability doesn't disappear. This replaces permission seeking with clear decision boundaries. Leaders will set the guardrails and review outcomes. They still coach judgment. They just stop being the bottleneck for decisions other people are fully capable of making. And the numbers, they back this up. Organizations that document decision rights and escalation triggers see a 60% reduction in the approval queue. Leader decision workload drops by over 50% once routine decisions stop flowing upward. That's what happens when you replace ambiguity with a boundary. That's the test. If it's genuinely an emergency, it survives being written down as one. And if it can't survive that, then it was never an emergency. A gate with clear criteria and clear ownership is what separates signal from noise. It's the reason your team believes you when something is actually on fire. Whether you're the CEO, an ops manager, or an engineering lead, your job is to set the guardrails and the escalation triggers, not approve every pricing call or messaging line. If you find yourself in a 30-minute sync on copy choices, the system failed before that meeting ever started. Your role is to define the boundary, not live inside of it. The role titles change. The system failure stays the same. If your team owns the work but not the decisions within it, then ownership, it doesn't mean much. Control does not scale. Clarity does. You have to name the owner. Then you have to set the deadline. Then you have to define the escalation trigger. That's the entire system. Go back to that launch gate. Same Monday, same open pricing question. Except now there's a named owner and she has until the end of the day. No sync gets scheduled, wasting your time. No 8 people freeze their tasks waiting on a hallway conversation. She decides by noon. Marketing's messaging clears the same day because that owner isn't waiting on a meeting either. The launch moves Tuesday, not Friday. You don't need a bigger calendar. You need a system that stops needing you. Define one decision domain this week. Name the owner, set the deadline, and write out the trigger. Then watch what happens when your team stops waiting on you to move. If this reframed how you think about your calendar, please subscribe to the channel because we fix this stuff every week. Now, get to work.